Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Depending on where you're joining from, welcome to the DataPlatformGeeks webinar. Today's webinar is on SQLOpsStudio versus SSMS by Warwick, who is an MCM and MVP from Australia. Before we kick off this webinar, I would like to quickly walk you through a few slides. DataPlatformGeeks, as you would have already know about it, you are registered and you're attending the webinar today. DataPlatformGeeks is a community initiative by eDomner, which also has other companies like SQLMaestros, Peopleware India, and Expand ERP. You can explore more about eDomner Ventures. Data Platform Summit has been announced, so you're already aware about this. So it's a 3-day conference and 2 pre-conference training days before that. This is happening in Bangalore in Hotel Radisson Blu. We have about more than 100 sessions, and we have more than 50 speakers traveling from all around the world attending this and speaking at this conference. So this will be your best opportunity to interact with the experts from all around the world. We have Microsoft product team members, Microsoft recognized MVPs and MCMs, and also industry experts who will be at this conference and spending their time interacting with you and helping you advance in your career with in data platform space. The first 54 sessions are being released, and we'll be releasing more sessions in coming 2 weeks. So explore and see what content is available, and this will be your best opportunity to learn and network at this conference. If you are planning to attend this conference, please also spread the word and bring your team. If you need help with talking to your company to help you attend this event or sponsor you for this event, we can help you with that. I'll be sharing some information about how to reach out to us at the end of this session. You can also visit dps10.com for more information. So this is the core team behind DataPlatformGeeks who help in running this events and bring this conference and the free events and the webinars to you each month and each week. The eDomner teams who is the actual team behind running these events, who help us run the website and also help us in organizing the events. Special shout out and thanks to Microsoft, who has been a great support in helping us grow DataPlatformGeeks. And you would have already joined DataPlatformGeeks. If you are joining this webinar by using direct link, please do go and register at dataplatformgeeks.com, because we've got a lot of free content available on the site. There are a lot of free videos. All the webinars that are happening are recorded and uploaded to dataplatformgeeks.com. So it's a wonderful place where you can learn about data platform. Also join the Facebook group, which is the largest SQL group on Facebook. You can post your questions here, and we have experts who are part of this group and help in answering the questions. And if you're also interested in helping the community, you can join this group and answer some questions. Also join the LinkedIn group. And I'll quickly hand over to our speaker today. Warwick, over to you.
Thanks, Manaha. Okay, just let me know when you can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome along to my session tonight on SQLOpsStudio versus Management Studio here on DataPlatformGeeks. I'm very pleased to be on DataPlatformGeeks giving you this session this morning, or tonight, my time. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Warwick Rudd. I'm the principal consultant with SQLMaestros Consulting. I'm a data platform MVP. I did achieve the certification as a Microsoft Certified Master. On this slide, there are a few things about what I have done in the past. I am on the Century One Product Advisory Council, and I'm part of the Friends of Redgate program as well. But the most important parts on this slide are my contact details. So if you're on Twitter, tweet about this session, tweet about Data Platform Geeks, reach out to me and ask me any questions you would like via my Twitter handle, via the company email, or reach out to us via the company website. We're happy to answer any of your questions. So what are we here to talk about tonight? Well, the abstract for this session, SQLOpsStudio, it's a new kid on the block, but is it really a replacement for good old Management Studio? So what I'm going to take you through this evening is having a look at what is Ops Studio, comparing some of the things that you're able to do in Management Studio that you can do in Ops Studio, but also showing you some of the differences between what's available in Management Studio compared to what is available in Ops Studio. Now, this session is going to be very heavy from a demo point of view. I do want to say that feel free at any time to send out any questions about anything that we are talking about and displaying this evening. Use the chat window. Manaha will be monitoring those and can reach me at any point in time, but I also will be looking at those chat messages come through as they do. So if you do have any questions, do send them through, and we'll make sure that we're able to look at those and answer them appropriately. Now, this is where hopefully you're all ready to type some answers here, because to start off the session, normally this is an interactive session. So I do have a couple of questions to start with, and hopefully you're all able to type away pretty quickly. So first off, from a Windows platform, how many of you are purely working on a Windows-based platform, i.e. you're running Management Studio on either your laptop, virtual machine, or a physical machine to look after your SQL Server environments? I'll get you to punch in some details there, and while they are coming through, we'll bring up the next one. How many of you are actually using or running SQL Server on a Linux platform? With the release of SQL Server 2017, we then got the ability to host our SQL Server instances on Linux. So this is why it's becoming a little bit more prevalent. If you are running, how many of you are running on a MacBook? Okay, if you are running on a MacBook, how are you maintaining or managing your SQL Server environments? Okay, so have a think about that, and I see some answers coming through in the chat window, so that's good. So with that, now that we've asked those couple of questions, how many of you here on the session tonight have heard of SQLOpsStudio before this session? Okay, we've got a couple of people saying yes, that's good. So how many of you have actually used OpsStudio? I'll just give it a minute to allow some people to answer, and then we'll continue on. And so with these questions, this is just giving me a bit of an insight into those of you who are on this session, what you have played with, what you have seen, where you're already at. Oh, excellent. So we've already got some people set up and using OpsStudio. I hope you're finding it a very good tool to be using. So that's gold. So with those, that leads us into a bit of a history around OpsStudio. Now, as we can see on the screen, it was initially released back in November last year. Every month, there's been a release. So it's a very quick cadence on improvements or additional features or enhancements into the product. Okay, this is kind of going along with what we're seeing from Management Studio also. So with the release of SQL 2016, or I believe it might have been 2017, with the removal of Management Studio out of the installation process and Management Studio being its own standalone product. And so we're able to keep up to date with the product team making enhancements, and it doesn't impact the product as itself. We're able to utilize Management Studio and get access to those new features on a very quick release cycle that assists us in our day-to-day management of our SQL Server environments. And this is the same of what is happening with OpsStudio. Now, I do expect that given that we are just into June, we should be getting another release, hopefully soon. But to step in a little bit further, where I asked before in the poll around who's running on Windows, who's running on Mac OS, who's running on Linux. If you're running on Management Studio, unfortunately, right now, it's a Windows-based solution. It only runs on a Windows-based operating system, allowing us to maintain, manage, maintain, and look after our SQL Server instances, whether they be in a virtual environment on-premise or a physical environment on-premise, whether we have Azure SQL Data Warehouse, or whether we have Azure SQL DB. If you are running on Mac OS and you happen to work in an environment that allows you to bring your own device, etc., unfortunately, you're having to have some form of a emulator or simulator installed on that device so that you can run Management Studio to get to your instances of SQL Server, Azure SQL Database, Azure SQL Data Warehouse. With the release of 2017, as I mentioned just before, we now have that support for SQL Server running on SQL Server on Linux. So with that came out of the fire OpsStudio. And what that allows us to do is, now that we're running SQLOpsStudio, we can actually run this truly on a Windows platform, we can run it on a Linux platform, or we can run it on our Mac OS, and it doesn't matter. And it gives us the same ability to maintain and manage our SQL Server environments, our Azure SQL DBs, or our Azure SQL data warehouses. With that, what it brings to the table, now that we can see that, it's that purely cross-platform process in that we just need to go to the download site, choose what platform we are on, and install that version of the product. And it's the same, pretty much the same code base, but specific to each of those platforms so that we're able to work more freely in our environment. In the upcoming demo, which we're about to step into, we will take you through an introduction to it. We will take you through what are some of the new features that are coming around with OpsStudio. Now, I know in the title, I do have it that OpsStudio versus Management Studio, there can be only one. I don't actually believe that at this point in time, OpsStudio is going to be the replacement for Management Studio. I believe that there is a place for both of them, but what it is doing is that it is giving us as data professionals a tool that is now multi-platform, given that we are looking after databases in a multi-platform environment, and that is just going to keep on getting more and more that we have to look after. So having that, this is where this tool is really going to be beneficial to you to have, use, and understand how you can use that. So with that, let's dive into the demo. Now for the demo this evening, I am connected to an Azure SQL, an Azure VM, and on that Azure VM, I've already got Management Studio installed. I also have OpsStudio installed, and I'm able to go and connect to an instance of SQL Server, which I'm running on one of my other VMs. Now you can see here on the screen that we're already in Management Studio. Now, I like using the dark theme inside of Management Studio. I believe it's easier on my eyes, and especially from a presentation point of view, it makes it easy when I bring up things for you guys to be able to see. Now, in Management Studio, hopefully you should all be very au fait with the look and feel and how to use Management Studio to manage and maintain your SQL Server instances. So we have our registered servers. Quick call out. Who in the audience is using registered servers? I'll give you a couple of seconds to throw in some answers. Okay. So for those of you who aren't using registered servers or don't know about registered servers, what they give us the ability to do is we can, in our local groups, we can create logical groups. And those logical groups, for instance, you might create one for production, pre-production, user acceptance test, system test, development. As we can see here in my section, I've got one called demo. Now, it is just a logical representation. And in that logical representation, we're able to have our servers associated in that environment to make it easy for us to manage and maintain those SQL Server instances. The beauty of that, if we have a look at the properties of the server that we have in our registered servers, and we come to the connection properties, we're able to give a custom color code, which makes it nice and easy for us so that when we connect or start up a query window that we're going to run some code against, we're able to have that color and know exactly which environment are we running our code into. So for your production servers, I would recommend that we put this as red. So if I just change that here, and I'll change it so that we can see what I mean. So if I go, we'll have that as red. Okay, let's test that. Yep. Save. We'll get a new connection. So I'll just reconnect. Why haven't you? Okay. So with that new connection and having changed that, you can see down the bottom of my screen this glaring red jumping out at us. And we'd want that because we don't want to be connecting to production. And so if we do connect to production, we can know straight away, hey, we're connected to the wrong instance and we don't inadvertently apply something into production where we should be applying it into a non-prod environment. Now, that's been around a long time, and it is just a visual feature assisting us for that. But it makes having those registered servers a logical way for us to be able to know which ones we're connecting to. Now, with that, before we go any further on some of the features in Management Studio, I'm going to bring up OpsStudio. Now, when you first install OpsStudio, and it is easy to install, all we need to do is we can come to the GitHub repository, and this is the beauty of it. What Microsoft have done is that the product team have placed OpsStudio onto GitHub for you, the public, to be able to quickly and easily stay up to date with what is happening with OpsStudio. You've got direct access into the product team and the guys and girls who are working on this product to provide feedback, ask for features. So you can see here that there's a number of contributors, all of the releases, all of the branches, etc. You can see here we've got a number of issues. If we click on those issues, you can see as they come up, the team are working on those, they're added into the release cycle, and you're able to get the new versions of OpsStudio. So there's two ways that you can install. If you've already got a GitHub account, you can then sign up here, clone and download the GitHub repository, or alternatively, we're able to come to the download and install site, and this will either send us to GitHub, or you can choose which one that do you want. So where I mentioned before, so Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, and you're able to download the appropriate installation files to your environment to install those. So once we've done that, we've got it installed, we fire it up. This is what we're greeted with. Now, on Management Studio, I was running the dark theme. From a presentation point of view, this is very bright and is not good on my eyes, so it's probably not good on your eyes. But one of the things that a lot of people were asking for were those things. To set that in Management Studio, you could go and do it yourself, or our good friend from Century One, Aaron Bertrand, has already put together the settings that you can go and download and import those into Management Studio to give you that dark theme. But in OpsStudio, it's so much more simpler. We just come down and look at this. We've got color theme straight for us. And out of the box, we've got a number of different color themes that we are able to choose and apply. I'm not going to go through all of them. Some of them are pretty funky, and having had a look at them, I think they're a bit harsh on my eyes, but each to their own. But standard dark theme. Hey presto, that's how simple it is compared to in Management Studio. And that's purely because you, the public, have asked for the dark theme because we all like the dark theme. Now, for those of you who may be more from a development side of things and are used to using SQL Server data tools, you'll see that this is has a very similar look and feel to Visual Studio, SSDT, as opposed to SQL Server Management Studio. And the reasoning behind that is that SQLOpsStudio is not purely for DBAs. Okay, it is for developers. So how many in the crowd are DBAs? How many in the crowd are SQL developers? How many are BI developers? How many are application developers, right? You can use this tool because it provides you the ability to use multiple different languages all in this single one IDE. And that's why the look and feel is more around that SSDT rather than Management Studio. So what do we have at our fingertips? So the IDE is broken into three parts. So we've got our activities pane over on the left-hand side. We then have what we're doing in the middle. We then have our query window or terminal window over on the right-hand side. Now, from a presentation point of view, where I really like this tool is that I no longer have to use Zoom It to make this easier on your eyes. What they've done is they've made things nice and simple that I can make this zoom in and it zooms the entire application all as one, so that it makes it a little easier for us to see what is happening. So with that, where I mentioned before in Management Studio that we had registered servers, well, in OpsStudio, what we have is we've got a couple of different activities. First off, we're on our server side. So we can add a new connection if we wanted to. We can add a new server group, and a new server group is the equivalent of a registered server. Or we can then see our active connections. So like we had in Management Studio, I've got a demo environment, which is my registered servers or server groups here. Just like in Management Studio, I've got our single instance of SQL Server added to that. To add a new connection, I'm going to do the thing that we shouldn't do in demos, but simple as this, go connect. There are some other options in here that we do get to go and choose, but it's taking a little bit longer than normal. But it does go and that's because I've got the name wrong. Wrong one. That's better. There we go. So it's created our new registered or our new server connection. If we happen to want that inside of a server group, it is very simple for us to move. All we need to do is click, drag it into demo, and we're now part of that particular server group. So from an administration point of view, it does make it really simple for us to be able to do those types of activities in OpsStudio. Now, if we do a comparison between what we do get in OpsStudio compared to what we get in Management Studio, I'll just minimize this down a little bit. Now, what we do get to see in OpsStudio, we've got database security and server objects. As opposed to in Management Studio, we have a whole lot more information available to us, i.e. Replication, poly-based, always-on availability groups, management, integration services, SQL agent, etc. Okay, this is where Management Studio, the development of it has been going on since the release of SQL Server 2005. Okay, so we've probably got 14 years, maybe nearly 15 years of development into Management Studio. Ops Studio, yes, we've been out for 6 months, maybe another year before that of development work. Okay, so this is why I'm saying that at this stage, Ops Studio is not a replacement for Management Studio, and we don't have the full set of features available to that. And to date, that's going to stay that way in that it's going to be very bare, very vacant, allowing you to pick and choose how you want things displayed inside of Ops Studio for you to do the things that you want to do. Now, one of the things that I did point out, SQL Agent, it's not available inside of Ops Studio. Well, to a point it isn't. If I just make this a bit bigger, what we can do here is we're connected to our SMC Demo SQL 06. We can see on our terminal window, we've got a dashboard with some information about what's happening for that instance. And we can see a number of tabs across the top here, one of which, SQL Agent. And I'll just zoom out just a little bit to make it a little bit better for us. Now, for our SQL Agent, what it's doing is it's going and looking at the SQL Agent, pulling out the information and displaying it in a chart on our dashboard that we can then dive in, have a look at what has happened, just like we would if we were to have a look at the history of our agent jobs. We can even run the job from here. So they have kind of incorporated it just in a different fashion. Now, what we do want to look at doing is some of the things that are available to us. We can change, like I've shown with the color, but we're able to play with the settings a whole lot more easily than what we have inside of Management Studio. And the easy way to get to that, we can come to our settings. And what that gives us on the left-hand side are all of the default settings that come out of the box. On the right-hand side are our user settings. And we can see that when I changed the dark theme, it then added that setting to our user settings. So the next time I start it, it will be there. We're able to change this to whatever value we want as long as it's in the product. Our zoom level, we can see that that's been added when I change the zoom level of the product. So this means that it's very configurable based on who in your team is using this. Now, one of the things that is very beneficial to us, if we were wanting to know, like we set the color coding for our registered servers or our server groups. In Ops Studio, if we then open up a new query window, we want to have that same look and feel that we're notified about that. So to achieve that, in our search settings, if we just start typing and we'll go SQL tab color, and so we can see that at the moment there is no tab color. If we edit it, we've got 3 options available to us. Off, which is our default, our border, and fill. Now, I'll put the border in place to start with. We then go save. And we'll just choose a new query. Okay, so we've got our new query window, which is connected to our database. And we can see that from past speaking events just here. Now, from our tab point of view, the color is not that fantastic. We can't really see that it is colored the same as what's in our server group. And even though it's the border, it's only choosing the top line going across the very top of the tab. And so it's not going to jump out at you and tell you that, hey, you're in that. So instead of using the border, I would recommend that you use fill. We'll save that. We come back and we can see now it stands out just like in Management Studio so that we can see that. So when you are using this, make sure that you go and set those appropriately to the same color as what you've got for, so that you see them coming up and filling for when you connect for the servers in your registered groups. Now, one of the things that I do like about inside of Ops Studio, and I did learn that they do have this in Management Studio, but it's not as easy to set. But we do have some out-of-the-box code snippets that are available to us. And to do those, what a code snippet is, inside of the terminal window, if we just start typing, and I've just typed in SQL, and we can see that we've got a number of code snippets pop up that are available to us. Out of the box, these code snippets are things that the product team have thought, well, okay, with some feedback, these are the types of tasks that you may be doing on a regular basis. And if we put them here, just by typing a couple of letters, we can then select what do we want to do. So let's say we want to create a table. A couple of keystrokes down, hit enter. And it gives us all of the code that we require for that structure for us to create a table. So we then just change what our schema name is, what our table name is. We then can go and create all of our columns, and everything's available to us to quickly and easily create those commands. But we can create our own user snippets to make that even easier for us. Now, to do that, what I'm going to do is we're just going to open up a file, one that I prepared earlier. Now, this is just a text file, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to configure our own snippets, as we can see in the code, and we're going to go Shift-Control-P, and then we'll configure user snippets. Now, with configure user snippets, this is where I was mentioning that this tool is not just for data professionals. So you can see here the types of code snippets and types of languages that we're able to use inside of this tool. Okay, we've got batch files, we've got Docker files, we've got Git files, JSON files, PowerShell, Python, R, shell script. We scroll down, and here's our one that we want, SQL. So if I click that SQL, it opens up a SQL.json file for us. And what we want to do is take the contents of our code here, and we'll just copy it into our JSON file. And what this is going to do is create a code snippet for us to get the top 5 from a particular table. So we're giving it our name, our prefix, SQL select top 5. We're telling it what the body is. So go and select the top 5 star from, and we're telling it to punch in, we want to put this as a table name. Now, yes, this is a demo. I'm using top 5 star. Don't use star in your select statements, okay? But if you're working as a DBA and you're looking at particular things, top 5 star may be appropriate for you. But bearing in mind, this is just a demo. So with that, all we need to do, file. No, hang on. Yes, file save. So we save that. What that does is if we come out to the operating system and we come to our user location, it's now created SQL.json. You can see that that's today, it's 8:04 p.m. my time. If we come back to our query window and I type SQL, we can see here is my user-defined function, select top 5. It's now available for us. And we're able to choose any table name that we want. So if we highlight that and we go DBO dot, okay, event sessions, execute that statement, run, there we go. So very quickly, we can be more productive having code snippets that help us do our job. So we've quickly been able to run a statement that we may just want to check something, but we don't have to remember the whole thing and have it there. It's pre-prepped for us. Now, how many of you, from a development point of view, have you been looking at, oh, we need to join this table to another table, but I need to know what type of constraints are in place, or what are the data types on a column? Okay, you go about getting that table, then doing like a help lookup of that table to give you the definition. In OpsStudio, what we're able to do, if we right-click on the table, you'll see here we've now got two things, one called go-to definition and one called peak definition. So if I have a look first off at the go-to definition, this will open up a new tab for us. It's just running a little slow. Go-to definition. There we go. And by being able to right-click Go to Definition, we straight away get the definition of that table, making it nice and simple for us to know what are the columns in here, what are the data types, we want to do some joins, etc., to either improve or troubleshoot something that's going on in our environment. Now, apart from the Go to definition, what we're able to do, if we come back to our original statement, once again, right-clicking on it, and if we say peak definition, it throws up that same information into the terminal window that we've got right at our fingertips for us to be able to instantly get that information so that we can continue working. We don't have to jump between query tabs. Now, the next one that we want to have a look at is with our execution, and we get our results. By default, like we would in Management Studio, we have our results in the grid format. What you may have picked up is that we've got some options that we're able to put our results out to. So the first one, we can save them as CSV. We can save them as a JSON file. So we're able to get that information, put it into JSON so that we can then have our application consume that. We can put it as a Excel file, or we can put things out to a graph. So putting things out to a graph, I just want to open up our next file that we want to run a query on. No, that's okay. What we want to have a look at, so we want to have a look at event speakers. Run that statement. With those results, we can place it out to a graph. By default, it would choose a horizontal bar graph. Now, depending on your results, it's not really an appropriate graph that we want to be using. I actually want a different select. Okay. We're on next one. Okay, so we've got our horizontal bar graph. Now, as we can see here, it's not really appropriate in giving us a whole lot of information because there's so much jam-packed in there. But we are able to choose the type of graph that we want. So for this one, if we choose a donut, so therefore we can see that while we don't have any information, we do have the ability to add legend information so that we can see what this is more about. Now, having something like this very quickly makes it simple for us to have this in a visual effect that we can give to management or make it easy for ourselves to see what is happening and make further decisions. So with that, if we were to then hover on the largest one, now what this statement is looking at speaker names and how many sessions have they presented, and this is purely based on sessions that or events that I've gone and spoken at. So because it's all about me, that's why I'm popping up at the top, and it just makes it easier. But from that, what we're then able to do, we can then put in the particular speaker that we want, run our next statement, and if we run that statement, change our graph type, this is where it becomes really easy for us to visualize this information very quickly without having to jump outside of the tool that we're working in and get this information, so that we can see that from the event locations for myself on where I have spoken, it shows that I've spoken more often at Sydney than Christchurch, Melbourne, Auckland, etc. Okay, so you're very quickly able to know or get a visualization on the information that you are using. From that, what you're able to do from here is that you can go and create what are called insights. And those insights are really easy to do. Create insight. It gives us the code that we're then able to copy that, coming back into our user settings, and we can copy it into the appropriate section so that that comes up onto the dashboard when we're looking at our instance level or our database level. Now, I won't copy that in, but to show you what that does look like, if we come back to our Demo 7 tab, and I'll zoom out just so that it makes it a little easier for you to see. So we have a dashboard which shows or graph on our particular databases. We have the list of databases that we've got available to us, but we do have the ability to go server reports, and this is where we start to see that. So those insights, this is what you're creating, and you're able to create your own insights based on what you're wanting to know about in your environment. So we can see here that we've got the top 10 DB space usage. We can see the buffer pool usage and our CPU utilization in our environments. Now, there are people who are creating insights out there that you can download and install and configure into your environments. So hopefully some of you may have heard of a guy called Adam Mechanic. Adam Mechanic has created a stored procedure called SP Who is Active, that if you're having some problems in your SQL Server environment, you can execute that statement. It gives you so much information. Well, what Adam has done is he's turned that in so that you can use it inside of OpsStudio. I've already got it installed. I'm showing, because we're connected at the instance level, it's giving me no data available. But you're able to access SP Who is Active from inside of OpsStudio to give you that same information that you're used to seeing. Now, where I said before that this is truly a cross-person, or I shouldn't say person, but cross-role tool, developers, etc. Those of you who are using or are in a DBA style role, are you using PowerShell? If you are, to maintain and manage and do things, you're not able to have your PowerShell scripts to do things and execute them inside of Management Studio. We can, however, do that inside of OpsStudio. So if I open up, just to show you that, so I'll open up a new make this a little bit bigger for us. Okay, so we've got our PowerShell script, and we've opened it inside of OpsStudio. Now, it's a very simple PowerShell script. All we're going to go and do is we're going to go to the Snippets folder, and we're going to delete that folder. To do that, inside of Shift-P and run the selected text in the active terminal. This won't take too long to complete, and it will give us the information, and there we go. We've gone out, we've executed those PowerShell commands inside of this one tool. If we go back out to our operating system, to our snippets, it's worked. We no longer have that snippet. We're able to see that also inside of our query window. If we start typing, we've got our snippets. We've no longer got that user snippet that we created. Now, you can have multiple PowerShell or multiple terminal windows open. We're able to say new terminal. We can then navigate to wherever we need to go and navigate. We can then execute that PowerShell script all from inside of here. We can change the default shell that we want to use for our terminals. That's inside of our settings for OpsStudio, and you can choose what that default shell is. Now, we've got a bit over 10 minutes. What I haven't shown you yet is the different activities that we do have available to us. So we've maintained and looked at all of the server settings. So from the server settings, we're able to come down to we've got task histories taking us through what type of things have we been undertaking over the course of time that we've been in running. We've got an Explorer, which goes and tells us what we've got available. So what type of scripts have we been using? And so we can see here in my open editors, it's telling us what we've got available to us. We can actually go searching inside of our scripts, looking for certain things to make things easier for us. But we've also got source control built into SQLOpsStudio. Now, this is so much better than with Management Studio, because Management Studio has no source control availability built in. Yes, you can go and get some vendor products, i.e. you can get Redgate source control, install that, and it's a supported add-on inside of Management Studio that you are then able to use source control in your environment to ensure that you're looking after or maintaining what is happening to your database. But that costs money. Management Studio itself is free, but OpsStudio, it's free. Built into it, you've got access to source control. You can access a Git repository that's local here. You can then have that set up to have a remote GitHub repository that you're able to use all of your source control commands. It tells you what is outstanding in the environment that you need to do so that you can commit them, branch them. We've got all of the commands available to us. All of the Git commands are available to us, and we can run them inside of OpsStudio so that you're able to fully maintain what's going on. The last thing that I want to show you is extensions. Now, in Management Studio, extensions are not supported. Now, there are some people out there who have created some extensions that you can plug into Management Studio, and they do make your life easier. They're not supported, but they're not breaking anything. OpsStudio, on the other hand, is given the ability for extensions now fully supported, and this goes back to why they're making it as a clear shell or a blank canvas for you to be able to decide and put into here what you're wanting to do. And so you've got a marketplace that you can go looking for and installing appropriate extensions that may be suitable for you. So we can, if I just take out our search, it does show us what we've already got installed. Okay, and so we can see here that, so here's the SQL agent extension, so that it's going and reading from the DMVs and creating the same look and feel for our SQL agent in Management Studio, so that we can still see that and perform the same tasks that we would in Management Studio inside of OpsStudio. Now, this one here, Instance Insights. This is from actually a local boy here in Brisbane who works for Microsoft, has created a GitHub repository with multiple extensions that you are able to download and install for free. To see what is available, we just start typing in what we want, and it takes us to the marketplace, and we can see I've got some things which are already installed, but there might be some other things that we may want to install. So we can see here Redgate SQL Search, and it's a recommended one that they think that you should install. That's completely up to you. So Matt from Brisbane has created these 3 insights, so always on, instance level, and database level. To go and install extensions into OpsStudio is very simple. From here, we click on the install. It takes us away to the particular GitHub repository that is set up. From here, we're able to download. Now, the easiest way that I've found is that if you download the v6 file, and I've already done that, once you've downloaded the v6 file, we come back into OpsStudio. We come up and we want to go install from v6. From our install from v6, we just need to navigate to where we've got the where we downloaded the v6 file to, and we can see here DB Insights. So here's my the v6 file, and we go install. Successfully installed. All we need to do is reload. It goes and reloads OpsStudio for us. When that comes back in a minute's time, there we go. We can see if we drop this down so that we can see we've got both of these now installed. To see what that's doing for us, we come back to our servers section. We connect to our instance of SQL Server. We go down to a database, and we then let's choose a particular database, and we say manage. When that manages, like we saw from an instance point of view, we're greeted with a particular dashboard. Okay, and so we can see here that we've got, for this database, here's our list of tables. It is only a small database, but we've still got, like we saw at the instance level, a number of tabs for us. And here's our SQL DB Insights tab. Coming into that, that's telling us the information around what space is being used, how much free space have we got left. Okay, so we've got 31% free space available to us. We can then see the difference in space used for our data files, our transaction log files, and we can see how many VLFs do we have. Okay, so this is where this has been created for you to be able to install and use in your environment, but you have endless ability to create whatever insights that are appropriate. You can then share them with the world, or you can use them inside of your environment. Now, I don't believe we've got about 5 minutes. I think that's all I was wanting to take you through tonight. So with that, we'll just quickly drop back to the slide deck. Now, here are some references that I've used that are available in putting together this session. I will confirm that this slide deck will be available for you on the DataGeeks website after this session, so that you're able to look at these to start your journey using OpsStudio. So with that, what did we cover off? I gave you a history of SQLOpsStudio. we've gone through some of the differences between OpsStudio and Management Studio, with predominantly about 85% of demos taking you through and introducing you to the tools. So with that, I'd now like to open up the floor to any questions. We've got some time, so feel free to put through any questions that you've got, and thank you all for having me.
Thanks, Warwick. That's a wonderful session. I'll request all the attendees to put in your questions in the Q&A panel, and while you do that, I'll just quickly take over the screen share, and I have few slides about the pre-conferences that are available at the conference this year. I'll just quickly walk you through them. So the pre-conference are happening on 2 days, on 7th and 8th of August. On 7th, we have Troubleshoot and Optimize SQL Server Like a Pro by Dmitry Kotkovich. He's a Microsoft Certified Master from US and also a Data Platform MVP. We have Sunil Agarwal coming back again this year. He'll be doing a full day training on migrating your on-premise database to Azure, as well as SQL DB and managed instance. So it will be a deep insights into these things. We have Rezarad from New Zealand, who is again a BI expert and an MVP. He'll be doing a full day pre-con on Power BI from Rookie to Rockstar. Dr. Leila Atati, who's a data scientist and a AI MVP from New Zealand. She'll be doing 2 pre-cons. The first one is leading edge data science with Microsoft tools. And we have Andy Leonard, who is a world-renowned BI and SSIS expert. He'll be doing a day of intelligent data integration with SSIS and Azure Data Factory. Madan Gajendran and his team, the Azure Cosmos DB team, will be doing a full day workshop on Cosmos DB. The second pre-con on the second day, Dr. Leila Atati, continuation or an advanced learning on the first day's pre-con. It's building intelligence applications using the Microsoft AI platform. If you're really serious about data science and R, this is the session for you. It's Practical R for Everyone by Steph Lucky. She's again a data scientist and also an MVP from UK. Sanjay Mishra and his team, the Data Cat team, will be doing a full day training on how building a scalable data architecture in Azure. Joey and Denny are coming back, who have been a rockstar speakers and supporting the conference since the first year. Joey will be doing a full day training on Linux for the SQL Server DBA. Peter Myers, who has been a very popular speaker last year, he'll be doing a 0-2 analysis services. And Denny Sherry will be doing a high availability and disaster recovery for both SQL Server and Azure, all the hybrid environment. And as I've mentioned before, you can reach out to us if you need help with talking to your management or talking to your company to get you to the conference. Please do mail us at contact@dps10.com, and we have 2 direct lines where you can talk to us and get our help in getting to the conference. The venue is again Hotel Radisson Blu in Bangalore, and the dates are August 9th to 11th is the 3-day conference, and August 7th and 8th is the pre-conference training. With that, I will hand over the floor back to Warwick. We don't have any questions in Q&A, but we have some in the chat window.
Yes, in the chat window. So we've got one, so like full backup, log backup, rebuild, organize, and update stats. So yes, so with that, you could create your own insights telling you about when was the last time a full backup was undertaken, when was the last time that a transaction log backup was undertaken. You could have a insight into how many of your databases are in the full recovery or the simple recovery model. You could have them to show that when was the last time that your stats were updated, so that you could quickly come in and see what is happening, when was the last time it was run, to assist you in managing your environment. Can we configure maintenance plans? Not within Management Studio. OpsStudio. Maintenance plans are still inside of Management Studio. You could, if you wanted to, now given that a maintenance plan is a SSIS package in its simplest terms, you could create those that SSIS package, have that executed from your SQL agent. But unfortunately, right at the moment, for you to create those jobs, etc., you still need to, one, either create them via T-SQL or PowerShell, or have access to Management Studio to be able to create them, schedule them, and then you would be able to, once they're scheduled, you would be able to access them and run them via OpsStudio, where we saw the excuse me, where we saw the SQL agent in OpsStudio. Okay, so
We have
got a
one more
question
Q&A.
on
Yep.
about how about database mail. So at this stage, once again, so database mail is something that you would configure at the instance level. Now, yes, Management Studio does give you the ability to install and configure that inside of Management Studio via the GUI. You can install and configure database mail 100% inside of OpsStudio by using T-SQL to set that up, as long as you've got all of the information available to you so that you could do it. So OpsStudio is not fully fledged as SMS. Correct. No, it is not. As I mentioned, so Management Studio was first released back in 2005. So it's had nearly 15 years of development work on that. OpsStudio, as we mentioned at the start, in the it is the new kid on the block, okay? And they are not trying to replace everything from Management Studio into OpsStudio. There's just far too much code. There's far too much interrelationships in there. And given that it is not purely for the data professional or the traditional, I shouldn't say that, not just for the traditional DBA who would be using Management Studio, it is therefore a whole raft of people, because those who are writing JSON code, those who are writing Python, etc., aren't wanting the same functionality that me as a DBA who is looking after my production environment is wanting to use. In what percentage is the OpsStudio helpful for a DBA? Okay, that's a loaded question. Look, I think where it does become very helpful for you is if, in this day and age, if you are not already using PowerShell, you need to start and learn PowerShell. Now, there are some fantastic resources out there. And the reason why I mentioned PowerShell is because inside of OpsStudio, you as a DBA, you're maintaining and managing your environment. You can run PowerShell straight from OpsStudio. So you're not having to have multiple tools open and have to jump between those to do your tasks. So I believe from that side of things, it's definitely going to be very helpful for you. Also, because it's got the built-in source control, if you're not already doing source control for your database, please start and do that, okay? Because it is so beneficial for you, okay? So having those side of things, it'll also mean that if you haven't started down DevOps for the database, then having source control available for you, you can start your process of implementing DevOps for the database using this maintaining and managing your environments. So when we install SQL Server, SMS component will be installed. What about SQLOpsStudio? Okay, so no. Management Studio is no longer a component that is automatically installed when you install SQL Server. The installation of SQL Server is the database engine and the associated components that you may require. Management Studio is a 100% standalone installation tool. So you no longer, and you shouldn't be putting installing Management Studio onto your server. Okay, you should not need to be remoting onto your server to manage it. So you can download, and to show you, Manu, I'll just take back I'll just share the screen. So if I come back into Internet Explorer, drop down, so Management Studio. So you'll come to Microsoft, download SQL Server Management Studio. So we can see right now that the latest version of Management Studio that you can install is 17.7. So you would come here, download that, do the install. Just like you would, and this is where you're able to keep up to date with those changes that are coming through. Same thing, we're able to come to the download site for OpsStudio and download those, or we're able to come to the GitHub repository and keep up to date with the releases that are being put out there by the product team. So it is up to you on how frequently you get those updates to take into account all of those new features that are being released on that, at this stage, monthly to 2-monthly release cycle. So, will PowerShell work even if SQL Server is on Linux? I'm not quite sure with that question. Are you saying that if you're running, so your SQL Server instance is running on Linux and that you're opening OpsStudio and executing a PowerShell script from inside of OpsStudio against an instance of SQL Server on Linux? Yes. So the PowerShell, as long as you're not trying to execute Windows-based commandlets against Linux, then you should be able to open and run your PowerShell scripts to manage and maintain your instance of SQL Server. Okay.
All right. That brings to the end of the Q&A again. So if you do have any more questions, please, I would request to ask, you can put up those questions on the Facebook group. We have recorded this webinar, so these resources, we'll get the resources from Warwick and we'll upload those to DataPlatformGeeks.com. Thank you for taking out your time today, Warwick, and giving this session in an odd hour for you. But it is really interesting and wonderful to learn about new tools. And I thank all the attendees for taking your time and attending the session today. Thank you. And
thank you everybody for coming along.